Open up a new Colab notebook, title this one Building Lists. Lists are a data type in Python that you can use to group several numbers together. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and start with a list called primes. Okay, so this is going to be a variable. It's going to include multiple prime numbers. So we set it equal to, now we need a list. And in Python, lists are constructed using these square brackets. Go ahead and enter one. And then you can include as many elements as you want inside of a list. You separate them via commas. So here are some prime numbers, 2, 3, 5, and 7. Those are all the single digit prime numbers. Now to store it as a list, go ahead and press Shift-Enter to run the coding cell. And then we can check the type by using the global function type in Python. Inside of that, we can check primes. Okay, so press Shift-Enter and you can see that it is of type list. In addition to numbers, you could have strings. Let's go with inner planets. And they are Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Okay, these are the rocky interior planets. And you can see, so when you're writing these in, you got to make sure to move your cursor outside of the quotation to get the comma, because if you put a comma inside of the quotation, that's not separating the elements of the list. That's a common mistake, that a lot of people will make. So make sure that your commas are outside of the quotation. Okay, so press Shift-Enter to store the inner planets as a list. You can even have mixed lists in Python. So here's a fun one. Here's some different ways you can write the number 4. Certainly the integer 4, 4.0. Those are two different types. We could write 4 as a string, and we could also write it like this. So there's 4 different ways to write the number 4. Now maybe you're skeptical. Is this really a list? Is this something else? Well, we can certainly just check by putting in type. And it is a list. And do note that it's actually not a list, and I should say, you can't do this in a lot of different coding languages. You cannot have elements that are of different types in the same list. These are often called arrays in other languages. Okay, you can also have the empty list, and this is simply a list with absolutely nothing inside of it. It'll be pretty useful. Of course, you can check, is it really a list? Okay, does it really save as a list? Well, let's find out. It certainly does. There you have the empty list. Okay, so what do you commonly do with lists? Well, if you're building a list, you might want to add elements to a list. So you could do primes, okay, which was defined above. And the way you add elements to a list is we use one of the list methods. It's actually at the top here. It is append. Okay, that means add to a list. And so if I want to go into single digit primes, I can append the number 11, double digit primes, press Shift-Enter, and I can check it to see, and there you can see that the number 11 has been added. Okay, let's take a look at some of the other methods. Well, we have a cool one here, reverse. You can reverse the order of a list. Let's do that. Okay, now to reverse it, because it's a method, right, the primes has come first, so you wouldn't put anything inside of the parentheses. So there you would just have nothing inside of the parentheses, and we can check it, press Shift-Enter. That's pretty cool. You can see that the primes has been reversed. And here's a fun one now too. You can do pop, okay? What does pop do? Well, let's run the code and find out. Press Shift-Enter, 2 pops out, okay? It's kind of fun, and if you check the primes again, you can see that 2 is not actually in it. Okay, so those are some different things that you can do with lists. There are a lot of different useful methods. There actually aren't that many. I say there are a lot. There they are. You can see them all on a list. Sort is actually useful. Let's try sort. Okay, will this sort the primes? I mean, we could reverse it again. That looks out of order. Press Shift-Enter. Yes, so sort will numerically or even alphabetize, perhaps. Will it alphabetize? Well, let's check with the inner planets. Right now, they're in their order that they are from the sun. And if I press Shift-Enter and I check now the inner planets, let's see. Now you can see they are, in fact, in alphabetical order. Okay, So those are some cool different types of methods that you can use. The other thing you can do with lists is find the element. So if I want to find out, well, what's the first element in my list of primes, the indexing is the same as with strings. The 0 would give you the 0th element or the first one in the list. So if I press Shift Enter, I get 3, which is actually the second prime because we popped 2 out of there. Okay. Similarly, to get the last element, that could be interesting to check. Okay, I have some list of primes. Well, what's the last one that has been found? I will let you know that one has been found, the highest prime in 2024, not long before these videos were being recorded, which is a Mersenne prime, which we'll look at. And in this case, we haven't gone beyond 11. Okay, so -1 will give you the last prime. Additionally, you can actually check slicing, right? You could look at, okay, well, I want to know the primes that are in, say, not the 0th index, but the first and the second index, okay? That would be like including index 1 and 2, but not 3. This follows the same syntax for slicing that we have looked at previously. Press Shift Enter, and you can see it gives you 5 and 7 because that is the first and the second element in the list. And so note that, like with strings, lists are in fact ordered. Okay, the ordering of a list does matter, right? And so you can use sort to put them in order, you can order them to begin with, and you can access their elements individually, right? Like, it's kind of nice, like if you have 2 back in there, which we don't, but like if you did, then primes, say 3 would give us like, actually it does give us the 3rd prime because it starts with 0. And you can see that, or is that the 4th prime? Well, we can just look at the list primes, and yeah, it's been skipped because we've got 0, 1, 2, and 3rd index. So that is in fact the 5th prime because it's the 4th, but we lost 2. But when you have your list ordered properly, you can see that indexing is very useful and slicing to narrow them down.